The phone rang sharply, cutting through the hum of a busy Tuesday morning in Manhattan. Ethan Caldwell, 29, leaned back in his leather chair, the skyline of New York City sprawling before him through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office. As CEO of Caldwell Ventures, a hospitality empire worth $4.2 billion, Ethan controlled a network of 52 venues, 28 restaurants, 15 hotels, and countless luxury event services across 9 states. Yet, to his family, he was still the reckless dropout who threw away a golden future at Yale to chase a pipe dream. Mr. Caldwell, his assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. You have a call from Prestige Events. It's about the Bennett Wilson wedding. Ethan's pen paused over the quarterly reports he'd been reviewing. His younger brother, Lucas, was getting married in a month. 9 months ago, Ethan had quietly wired $75 to cover the deposit for Lucas's dream wedding after hearing their parents were struggling to foot the bill. The family had no idea the money came from him. He'd made sure of that. Put it through, Ethan said, his voice calm but curious. Mr. Caldwell, this is Sarah from Prestige Events. Came a hesitant voice. I'm calling about the Bennett Wilson wedding next month. I have some difficult news. Go on, Ethan said, setting his pen down. Your family contacted us yesterday. They've asked us to remove you from the guest list entirely. They mentioned a family dispute and were very clear that you're not to attend the ceremony or reception. The words landed like a punch to the gut. But Ethan's face remained impassive. His family, his parents, Robert and Linda, and his brother, Lucas, had always seen him as the black sheep. The one who walked away from Yale's prestigious business program to play entrepreneur. They didn't know that the small event business he'd casually mentioned at Thanksgiving dinners was now a juggernaut generating $1.4 billion in annual revenue. There's more, Sarah added quickly. They also asked if they could keep the $75 deposit you paid for the wedding. Mrs. Bennett said it's already been spent on other expenses. For a moment, Ethan said nothing. His gaze drifted to the city below, half of which he influenced through his investments in real estate, hospitality, and luxury services. The irony was almost poetic. His family thought they could erase him from their perfect celebration while pocketing his money. Mr. Caldwell, are you still there? Sarah's voice trembled. Yes, Ethan replied, his tone steady as steel. I want you to cancel the entire wedding. I'm sorry, what? Sarah's voice spiked with panic. Cancel the Bennett Wilson wedding. The venue, catering, flowers, photography, transportation, everything. Sir, I don't understand. You're not the groom. You can't just. Sarah, Ethan cut in, his voice low but firm. Who owns Prestige Events? A rustle of papers came through the line. Caldwell Event Group. And who owns Caldwell Event Group? A longer pause. Caldwell Ventures. And who owns Caldwell Ventures? You do, Mr. Caldwell, Sarah whispered. Exactly, so, yes, I can cancel this wedding. Be specific. Cancel their reservation at the Skyline Grand Hotel. That's mine. Cancel the catering from Elite Culinary, mine. The floral arrangements from Bloom and Luxe, mine. The photography from Starlight Studios, mine. The bachelor party at Coastal Haven Resort, mine. The rehearsal dinner at Azure Bistro, mine. Even the limousine service from Premier Transports, mine. Sarah's breathing was audible now. But sir, the wedding is in 4 weeks. There are 250 guests. Deposits paid. Travel arrangements made. Cancel everything, Ethan said. Refund any guest deposits for accommodations. Send the Bennett and Wilson families a bill for the full amount they owe. Minus my $75 deposit. I'm keeping that as a cancellation fee. Mr. Caldwell, this will ruin the wedding. They won't find new vendors this close to the date. That's no longer my concern. Ethan hung up and leaned back, his eyes tracing the glittering skyline. 9 years ago, he'd walked away from Yale. Not because he was failing, but because he saw a gap in the luxury event market. A gap no one else had noticed. While his family mourned his wasted potential, he launched Caldwell Events from a cramped Brooklyn studio, planning corporate galas and modest weddings. He worked 20-hour days, slept on an air mattress, and reinvested every dollar into his vision. His family's response? Ethan's just going through a phase. He'll come crawling back to a real job soon. By year 2, he'd bought his first venue, a failing banquet hall in Queens that he turned into a hotspot for high-end events. By year 4, he owned 8 venues across 3 states. Caldwell Ventures was born, and Ethan began acquiring complementary businesses, catering firms, florists, photographers, luxury transport. His family remained clueless. At holiday gatherings, they'd ask about his little side hustle, while fawning over Lucas's law school achievements. When Ethan bought his first hotel, a boutique property in Soho, he mentioned it casually. They nodded politely and moved on to Lucas's latest courtroom victory. The real growth came in years 7 and 8. During an economic dip, Ethan scooped up struggling hospitality businesses, transforming them into profitable enterprises. Coastal Haven Resort, Skyline Grand Hotel, the Azure Bistro chain, all names his family recognized but never connected to him. To them, he was still the dropout wasting his life on party planning. 30 minutes after his call with Sarah, Ethan's phone buzzed again. His father, Robert, sounded frantic. "Ethan, I just got a call saying the wedding venue's been cancelled. There's got to be a mistake." "No mistake, Dad," Ethan said coolly. "What do you mean? We have a contract." "A contract with Caldwell Event Group. Owned by Caldwell Ventures. Owned by me." Silence stretched across the line. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about you uninviting me from my brother's wedding while asking to keep the $75 I paid for it. So I cancelled everything." "You paid for the wedding?" Robert's voice cracked. "The venue, catering, hotel blocks, flowers, photography, bachelor party, rehearsal dinner, limousines, all through my companies. Congratulations, Dad. You just uninvited the guy bankrolling your son's entire wedding." Another long pause. "Ethan, there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. You made it clear I'm not welcome at family events. So my companies aren't available to serve them either." "Companies? Ethan, you plan parties." Ethan almost laughed. After 9 years, they still thought he threw birthday bashes. "Dad, I own Caldwell Ventures. We control 52 venues, 28 restaurants, 15 hotels, 7 catering firms, and 12 event service providers across 9 states. We generated $1.4 billion last year. Check our website. Check the business registry. Check Forbes. We were number 14 on their fastest growing private companies list." Muffled voices came through the line. His mother, Linda, had joined the call. "Ethan," she said, her voice shaky, "we had no idea you were this successful. You never told us." "I tried," Ethan said. "Every family dinner for 9 years. I tried. Remember when I said I bought Coastal Haven Resort? You said it was nice to stay busy. When I mentioned expanding into hotels, you asked when I'd get a real job. But you dropped out of Yale to build this." Linda said, almost in disbelief. "I saw an opportunity and took it. While Lucas was studying torts, I was signing deals that made millions." Robert cleared his throat. "Ethan, surely we can work something out. Lucas's wedding is no longer my problem. You uninvited me, remember? You decided my presence would ruin your perfect family celebration." Ethan ended the call and returned to his reports. But the sting of his family's rejection lingered. 9 years of building an empire in plain sight. And they still saw him as a failure. But now, they'd face the consequences of underestimating him. The question was, would they learn? Or would they double down? The Manhattan skyline glittered under the midday sun. But inside Ethan Caldwell's office, the air was heavy with the weight of betrayal. The call from Sarah at prestige events still echoed in his mind. His family had uninvited him from his brother Lucas's wedding while expecting to keep the $75 he'd quietly paid to ensure their perfect day. Ethan, the 29-year-old billionaire behind Caldwell Ventures, had cancelled the entire event in response. Leveraging his control over a hospitality empire that spanned 52 venues, 28 restaurants, and 15 hotels. Now, the fallout was beginning. An hour after his heated call with his father, Robert, Ethan's phone buzzed again. It was Sarah. her voice trembling with urgency. Mr. Caldwell, your family has been calling nonstop. Your brother, your parents, even the bride's family, they're desperate to rebook. But with 4 weeks to go, every top-tier venue in the region is booked solid. Catering companies are locked into other events. There's nothing available. Ethan leaned back, his fingers drumming lightly on his desk. What about the Horizon Manor? He asked, referring to his smallest venue. A charming but exclusive property overlooking the Hudson River. That's also yours, sir, Sarah replied. And it's booked for that weekend. Then they'll have to figure something else out, Ethan said, his tone even but resolute. Sir, your mother called in tears. Sarah pressed. She said 250 guests are invited, with family flying in from across the country. She's begging for any solution. Ethan's gaze drifted to a framed photo on his desk. A faded snapshot from a family vacation in the Hamptons when he and Lucas were kids. Grinning with ice cream dripping down their chins. For a moment, the memory softened the edges of his anger. Any solution? He asked. Yes, sir. All right, Ethan said, his voice measured. Here's the deal. They can have the wedding at Horizon Manor. Maximum 100 guests. Basic catering package. House menu only. Standard floral arrangements from Bloom & Lux. Staff photographer. No custom packages. Total cost. $250. Paid in full upfront. Sarah gasped. Sir, that's 5 times their original budget and half the space. That's the offer, Ethan said. They wanted to exclude me from their celebration while keeping my money. Now they can include me in their decision-making, and pay market rates. If they refuse, they can try City Hall. He hung up, the silence in his office broken only by the faint hum of the city below. Ethan had spent 9 years building Caldwell Ventures from a one-man operation in a Brooklyn studio to a $4.2 billion empire. His family, however, still saw him as the Yale dropout who'd thrown away a corner office at Goldman Sachs to play with parties. The irony was bitter. They'd uninvited the man who owned every vendor they'd booked for Lucas's wedding. 3 hours later, his phone rang again. It was Lucas, his voice tight with frustration. Ethan, what the hell is going on? Mom's been crying all day. Dad's called every vendor in the city. And they all say you own their companies. Is this some kind of sick joke? No joke, Lucas, Ethan replied, leaning forward. It's business. Business? This is my wedding. Your wedding that I was financing. Ethan said. Your wedding that I was uninvited from. Your wedding that you and the family decided I wasn't worthy to attend. Lucas's voice softened, but only slightly. We thought it'd be better without you there. There's been tension. You know that. Better to exclude your own brother while keeping the $75 I paid for your dream day? Ethan's tone sharpened. Does that sound like family to you? A pause. We didn't know the money came from you. Lucas admitted. Mom said you were struggling with your, whatever it is you do. Ethan's laugh was dry. Struggling? Lucas, when was the last time you asked me about my life? When was the last time any of you cared enough to listen? Silence stretched across the line. I'll make you a deal. Ethan continued. You can have your wedding at Horizon Manor. But I want 3 things. A formal apology from the entire family. An acknowledgement that you misjudged me. And my invitation restored, not as a courtesy, but because you actually want me there. Ethan, of course we want you there. Lucas said quickly. Do you? Or do you just want my venue? Ethan's voice was calm but cutting. If you don't agree, good luck finding a new location with 4 weeks' notice and no industry connections. I need to talk to Claire and our parents. Lucas said, his voice heavy. Take your time, Ethan replied, ending the call. That evening, Ethan's phone lit up with a call from Claire, Lucas's fiancée. Ethan, it's Claire, she said, her voice warm but cautious. Congratulations on your engagement, Ethan said, a faint smile in his tone. Thank you, she replied. Listen, I had no idea about any of this. Lucas never told me you were helping with the wedding costs. And I definitely didn't know about your businesses. Most people don't, Ethan said. I keep a low profile. I've been researching all afternoon. Claire continued. Caldwell Ventures is massive. You own half the venues I dreamed of for my wedding when I was a kid. It's been a good decade. Ethan said simply. Ethan, I owe you an apology. Claire said, her voice breaking slightly. I was there when your parents decided to uninvite you. I should have spoken up. Lucas made you sound like the irresponsible brother who never got his act together. I believed him, but now, I see he doesn't really know you at all. None of them do, Ethan said quietly. Claire paused, emotion thick in her voice. I'd be honored to have you at our wedding. Ethan, not because of your money or your venues, but because you're Lucas's brother, and you clearly care about family more than they realized. What does Lucas say? Ethan asked. He's processing, Claire admitted. He's realizing his big brother isn't who he thought. It's a lot for him. Your parents, too, they're shaken. They've spent years treating you like the family disappointment. And now they're learning you're probably the most successful person they know. Success isn't just about money, Ethan said. No, but respect is about recognizing when someone deserves it. Claire replied. And you've deserved it for a long time. The next morning, Sarah called with an update. Mr. Caldwell, your family has accepted your terms. They've paid the $250 deposit for Horizon Manor, and they've formally requested your invitation be restored. Your father asked me to tell you they'd like to meet before the wedding for a formal apology. And Lucas wants to know if you'd consider being his best man. Ethan leaned back, gazing at the skyline that had witnessed his rise from a Yale dropout to a billionaire. 9 years of building an empire while his family saw only failure. 9 years of trying to share his success while they dismissed it as a hobby. Schedule the meeting for Saturday at Coastal Haven Resort, he said. My private dining room. And Sarah, make sure the catering is flawless. Saturday arrived, and Ethan stood by the towering windows of the private dining room at Coastal Haven Resort. His largest acquisition, a once failing property now the Northeast's premier destination. The room sparkled with crystal chandeliers, hand-carved mahogany furniture, and a view of the Atlantic that drew gasps from even the most jaded guests. His family, Robert, Linda, Lucas, and Claire, arrived together, their eyes wide as they took in the opulence. Ethan, Robert said, extending a hand with uncharacteristic formality. Thank you for meeting us. Have a seat, Ethan said, gesturing to the table. Servers glided in, delivering plates prepared by the same kitchen that catered to senators and celebrities. The air smelled of rosemary and roasted lamb, a subtle reminder of Ethan's reach. This place is incredible, Linda said softly, her eyes tracing the view. I had no idea that I owned it, Ethan finished. I mentioned buying a resort 3 years ago. You said I was keeping busy. This was the expansion. Robert cleared his throat. Ethan, we owe you an apology, a big one. Go ahead, Ethan said, his tone neutral. We misjudged you, Robert said. For years, we saw what we wanted to see. A dropout who didn't follow the path we expected. We were wrong. Lucas leaned forward, his face tight with regret. Ethan, I'm sorry. I dismissed your achievements, assumed you were irresponsible, and let the family uninvite you from my wedding. I was wrong. Why did you assume I was irresponsible? Ethan asked, his voice calm but piercing. Because you left Yale, Lucas said. Because you didn't have a traditional job. Because you never bragged about your success. Would bragging have changed anything? Ethan asked. Lucas shook his head. No, but maybe if you'd been clearer about what you were building. Ethan smiled faintly. 3 years ago, I told you I'd acquired a hotel chain. You said, that's nice, and pivoted to your latest case at the law firm. Lucas looked down. No response ready. Claire spoke up. Ethan, we want to start over. We want to know about your life. Your business, your plans. We want to be a real family. And if I hadn't turned out to be wealthy? Ethan asked, his eyes locking on hers. Robert answered, his voice raw. We'd probably still be misjudging you. That's what makes this so shameful. At least you're honest, Ethan said. Linda's eyes glistened with tears. Ethan, I'm proud of you, not just for what you've built, but for helping with the wedding despite how we treated you. You're my family. Ethan said simply. That matters to me, even when it doesn't seem to matter to you. Lucas stood, walking around the table. Ethan, I don't deserve it, but I'm asking again. Will you be my best man? Ethan studied his younger brother, the golden child who'd followed every family expectation. Never taken a risk. Never built something from nothing. For the first time, he saw vulnerability in Lucas's eyes. I'd be honored, Ethan said. 4 weeks later, Horizon Manor glowed under the golden light of a late summer sunset. Though Ethan's smallest venue, it was breathtaking, perched on the Hudson with gardens featured in Architectural Digest. The 100 guests, a trimmed-down list from the original 250, mingled in awe as Ethan's staff executed a seamless celebration. The air buzzed with whispers about Caldwell Ventures, the empire no one in the family had seen coming. During his best man's speech, Ethan stood at the head of the reception, his voice steady but warm. When Lucas and I were kids, he looked up to me. Somewhere along the way, that changed. He saw me as the brother who took the wrong path, who gave up on success. He paused, meeting his family's eyes. But I never gave up on success, I just defined it differently. Success isn't about meeting others' expectations. It's about building something meaningful and sharing it with the people you love. He raised his glass to Lucas and Claire. May you build something beautiful together. And may you always remember that the best achievements are the ones you share with family. Later, on the terrace overlooking the river, Robert approached Ethan. Why didn't you just tell us? He asked. Why let us think you were struggling all these years? Ethan considered this, the breeze carrying the scent of jasmine. I tried, Dad, but more than that, I wanted you to be proud of me for who I was. Not what I owned. I wanted you to see that leaving Yale was the right choice. That building something from nothing had value. We failed that test, Robert said quietly. You did, Ethan admitted, but you passed the one that mattered more. Tonight, when you had the chance to choose pride over family, you chose family. That's worth more than years of recognition. Robert placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. I'm proud of you, son, not just for your success, but for your heart. You could have walked away from us. Instead, you saved your brother's wedding. Family is family, Ethan said, even when they don't act like it. As Ethan drove home that night, his phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry it took so long to see who you really are. I'm lucky to have you as a brother. Ethan smiled and typed back. Welcome to the family business. The next morning, his phone was flooded with notifications, 17 missed calls, 43 texts. Social media was ablaze with photos from the wedding, the stunning venue, the exquisite food, the flawless execution. But the messages that mattered most were from his family, Robert, Linda, Lucas, and Claire, asking when they could have dinner again. A real family dinner. Sitting in his office Monday morning, Ethan looked out at the skyline he'd helped shape. Success, he realized, wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about loving them enough to give them time to see the truth, and being strong enough to stand tall until they did.